communities of color in Multnomah County, and today represents an important opportunity to hear directly the experiences of communities impacted by racism and violence in Multnomah County. And with that, I'm just going to pass it on and have our speakers.
Thank you. Who wants to go first?
Good morning, Maria Garcia. So I would like to bring to your attention two topics. I am a small business owner, and as a Mexican Latino woman, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that there are so many organizations that are working for Latinos and supporting our Latino communities. But I just would like you to be aware that most of them, they don't really represent the needs, or they know the needs of the Latino communities. I was part of the Portland Mercado program when they opened. So they offered me this opportunity of being part of the Mercado, and I really like it. You know, I thought the concept was great. It was going to be my second shop, so I already had one, a Revolution Coffee House downtown. So I thought it was a great opportunity for me. And I did it. I took the opportunity, I opened my place. After 3 months, I lost more than $40,000, and I asked for help, and Hacienda CDC is running the program, but there was no approach at all to help the tenants, and until this day I know they're suffering. But the reports that they're sending, they're very great, you know, it looks like they're doing great, you know, the numbers are great. That's not true, because they're not, they're not talking to the tenants. There are many needs there, and they're not listening. So I would like you just to keep in mind that not just because they say, oh, we help the Latino community, they're really doing it. You know, you need to talk directly with the people, you know, who's being part of those projects, what are the results? Because we're coming from a culture of fear. We don't like to talk about those things, you know, they're taboo, because you might lose what you have there. And a lot of people, you know, are living every day with the fear. And I just would like you to, you know, be aware of that. Investigate, you know, where those funds go, who's behind them, what are the results, you know, where really the people that are working in these projects, where they're from, you know, what's their background. We need that. I lost more than $40,000, and that created a lot of tension. You know, I'm divorced now, and that created a lot of tension with my husband, with my kids. I wasn't there. So that's another type of silent violence, you know, that we live as a business people, because we have to take care of, you know, our everyday life and family and our business. So just please consider that. Another topic is that we are working, doing advocacy with the Latino inmates in OSP, and especially we have this case of Rafael Mora, who was the Latino president, the president of the Latino club at OSP, and he's been transferred to Matila. This guy has been in the system for more than 14 years, and he had excellent conduct. He has created programs. He's been a great connection between the Latino community outside and inside OSP, and he's suffering from retaliation from the Douglas Yancey, who's the head of the SIU department, Internal Investigation Service of OSP. We already talked to Colette Peterson a few weeks ago, and we have another meeting coming soon with all the Department of Corrections. We need help. Our people are suffering from retaliation. There's so many drugs, there's a lot of corruption happening inside OSP, and we want that to end. Our people are suffering there. And I know they're there for a reason, but the way they've been treated is really disgusting, and affects the family also, and affects the friends. You know, my friend is there, and I've seen the pain of the family. When they move somebody from one institution to another one without any reason, it creates so much problem, you know, financial, you know, the schedule completely changes, and it's painful, you know, and there's the lost connection between family and inmates, and it's really important to keep them together, because it's part of the rehabilitation of the inmate, you know, having the support of the family. So we're advocating for not just Rafael, but other Latino inmates and Black inmates also that are suffering serious retaliation. We're talking about big cases, and nobody's doing anything about these people, because they're just pointing their fingers like, okay, they're there for a reason. They're in jail. It's not a hotel. Yes, it's not. You know, but a lot of these people, they don't have to be there. And those that are already in the system, and they're doing good things because, you know, they're taking classes, they're educating themselves, like Rafael Mora. You know, you need people like this that are getting ready to come back to society, you know, and we need more programs inside the institutions. And so it's just, I'm asking for two things, you know, investigate more about Latino business, you know, what are we doing, where are the money, the needs that we have, and where are the funds going, and to support our advocacy for our friends and family that are already in the system. Thank you.
Our son Christopher Kalonji, 19 years old, who got beaten by Multnomah County Sheriff Office deputy and got killed by Mulnomah County Sheriff Office deputy during his mental crisis on January 28, 2016. In October 21, 2015, Christopher went to Portland with his couple friends, like they say, hanging out. They were in Portland doing nothing wrong when Multnomah County Sheriff Office showed up and asked my son to show him his ID. He did not represent himself. He did not show his badge. My son told him that he has his constitutional rights. Don't show his ID because he don't know who his deputy is. Not represent him this time and don't explain a reason why he needs ID. So deputy get aggressive against my son. My son called 911 saying he's scared for his life. He did not know who his officer are. After this, deputy gets so mad that young man with big afro telling him his rights. He said to my son that he's now arresting him for interfering with a police officer and an appropriate call 911. Another officer come to help the first one. What he did, my son testified. He grabbed my left hand and yanked me. I thought he was trying to push me towards the car. As soon as he did this, he put his hand close to my head on my back and pushed me, and my head ended up hitting the car. Then my head hitting the car again and again. And I remember kind of losing control over my body. After this, it has PTSD in bad forms. As I know, 3 officers was involved in arresting my son, and none of them protect his human rights. He was abused by police, and this police officer still on the street continue to use a brutal manner against people of color. On January 28, 2016, he has a mental crisis about court that he need appear this morning. He was so scared about his life and see people coming to kill him. He called 911 was made. Police come and negotiate with my son for a couple hours. During this time, they were planning to get arrest warrant from Multnomah County. As soon as they get this warrant, they shoot him. They left him in his room, bleeding to death for 4.5 hours. This neglect. When they reached him, he was unconscious. They put handcuffed, brutalized his body, and sent to the hospital. It was too late. He lost so much blood, and he died. So my question, are we safe in the street? We don't. We don't even safe in our houses. Me and my husband here will live illustration of this. And we want to police officer in this county, in our Oregon, in our country, United States, be responsible for their action.
I'm the lead organizer of Don't Shoot Portland. I'm an activist. I'm a community advocate. I'm a community servant. I'm a civil rights leader. I stand for justice. I won't stand for anything less, ever, regardless of the situation I'm put in, regardless of my history or the experience that I had in this city since the time I was born. My parents were born here. 35 years ago, the Portland police threw dead possums in front of my grandparents' restaurant here. I turned 11 that year. I knew something about justice and I knew something about injustice. I knew we had a black police commissioner. I knew he could have been a lawyer, but he stood up for something that was just disgusting. I know that since then, policies, community review commissions, independent police review boards, all of the citizen involvement committees, all types of policy around equity and inclusion and to anti-discrimination, all of those things have been put in writing. They've been put in writing, they've been mandated in legislation, they become parts of memorandums of understanding. They have verbal and committed committees of board and chairs and volunteers all throughout the state. The problem is that those same names that appear on all of those situations, all of those boards, all of those committees, all those work groups, everybody that has the power, they're the same people that have maintained that power since 30 years ago. The same people have maintained that power for over 30 years. The same politicians have access to the same power circles, networks, we'll call them community hustlers and poverty pimps, because they change. If you have access to power too much, too long, and you don't have inclusion from people that are the part that you're supposed to represent, let's say you're disconnected from your leadership, let's say that you're not serving with the people that you're serving for, then your service renders itself to be corrupt. We know that by receiving an F in the integrity, an F in this state for public integrity, lacking accountability, oversight, ethics, that those numbers don't lie, because we have numbers that carry where we are. The Multnomah County MacArthur Foundation report shows overrepresentation. The fact that we defelonized crime that is relative to drugs. We defelonized that not because we've taken a good heart to what's happening, because the disparities exist, that we overrepresented and over-policed those communities that were most vulnerable to drug crimes. We basically hunted families down, and mandated policy allowed it. When we're talking about dismantling white racism, supremacy, or state-sanctioned discrimination, like how Henry would call it, that means that we have to be very serious and very, very strategic in dismantling the policy. When Maria's talking about the businesses that the Latino community have invested their money in, the opportunities for equity involved in community empowerment, and even some of the things that happen in our community, those things look great on paper. The flyers look beautiful. The market that you send them out to, the people can afford to take those losses when they happen. But to have no relative opportunity to keep a sustainable foundation when you take that opportunity thinking that it's going to empower you, that means there's a lack of oversight. And when they come here and they tell you, like, look, I keep signing up for these programs that are culturally relative or culturally competent, but my children are failing. But my family is still houseless. But my sister's still being sexually violated, misconduct. All of these things continue to exist. Let's say 30 years ago when we started mandating policy for equity, because we knew that we had a race problem here, that things should be getting better, right? But we know that we lead the nation in some of the worst, horrendous human rights violations that legislative policy can influence. People with power. People with power. You guys understand language. I hang out with lawyers. I can tell them something's wrong, and they can write specific language and give it to a legislator or a senator, and they'll turn it into a bill, right? Ain't that how it works, Jules? They use the language of the people. They say the people came to us and said this was a problem. You guys have audits, you have reports, you have people out there sleeping on the streets. I slept outside City Hall with family members that came to talk to a mayor that didn't want to show up. He wanted to use his political power and prestige to make us come into a place that is not safe for us. Because what we've learned through policy and the mandated relationships that y'all have is that when you pull us into our church, it takes away our voices. Because guess what? Those mandated, appointed partners and leaders that you have, and I ain't going to say all of our pastors are poverty pimps. I'm not going to say all of the black leaders in our community are hustlers. But I'm going to say when it doesn't trickle down to the community, when you have the disparities that we have here in Multnomah County, it's criminal. It's criminal negligence built on a political agenda. Anybody can research that. I hang out in the city archives. Anybody with any type of courage or integrity would say, you know what, we know that this is something that's happening. We can't continue to divide the black communities and the Latino communities while sprinkling and pulling those that make us feel safe over to the side. We can't keep coddling those and using our coffers to support their imaging while we neglect the people that they're supposed to serve. That means that you are complicit. That means you're complicit. Just like how the brother Matthew said, you guys are hiring the gatekeepers, so you can't really do nothing about your own employees unless you indict them, unless you agree to several audits, unless you ask the Department of Justice to come in and help you see if there are any legal errors that might have violated somebody's civil liberties, especially in the Sun School contracts that we asked you guys to remove the disclaimer that said that children had to waive their FERPA rights to receive services. We go to all the school districts, we go to all the schools, we grab the application. A FERPA right is the Federal Education Right to Privacy Act. For poor children that go to certain schools, when you get program services provided through wraparound service programming, like Sun Schools or SCI, you are waiving your rights to privacy to the age of 25. And we're talking about why do we have this overrepresentation in Multnomah County's justice system of minorities, because we're targeting them. When we're asking for the SROs to be removed out of our school, we're asking because there are tremendous reintroductions of trauma for children in this country right now. We're looking at videos all over this country that are changing policy because they're showing that black people are being murdered. And you guys think it's cool to have 109 officers go to a predominantly black school in an underserved community so that we can promote the propaganda of good policing in a community where our children are being shot to death and beat up for asserting their constitutional rights. You guys allow school districts that you fund for cultural competency programming to violate the civil liberties of children. Sheriffs from Multnomah County joined Portland Police to assault families that protested last Friday. They're protesting because they don't need the officers in their school. A fireman in this country saved children at a school today, while an active 14-year-old shooter was in the building. A fireman, he saved his life because he wasn't going to shoot him. That means he's going to face justice. But we don't have those things happening here. We have people beating up kids for saying, I don't have to answer questions. We have people in this country that take away families when a parent complains about something that's happening in the school. We have mandates that everybody's a mandatory reporter, and so they'll call DHS if the parent has a problem with a teacher. They'll call DHS if the parent has a problem with anything, and we'll use our wraparound services to de-escalate the problem within the school. When we talk about brown and black people being safe in Multnomah County, we are not safe anywhere here. You guys are the commissioners. You need to direct an audit, a bigger audit than the MacArthur Foundation report. You need to utilize what happened in those findings to look through your relationships and to pull a search of oversight and accountability. Get us some quantifying values of those relationships as they pertain to the outcomes mandated through the policy that legislates the funding that they receive for supporting this. Simple. Thank you.
I never in my life thought I would hear that word. I thought that that word had disappeared in the 80s or the 90s after my mother, lived in New York. And I am afraid of, and I am probably one of the most unapologetic Latinx people that I know. But if I meet a white person, I am hesitant to give my information. And I'm hesitant to introduce myself and talk about myself. Because I don't know who this person is. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how they'll react. I'm constantly experiencing microaggressions around, being kicked out of bars. Anything from just people asking me what am I, where am I from, where is Puerto Rico? Like, is that in Mexico? Not that there's anything wrong with Mexico, but you know, it's like, just it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's just this mental weight. Before I came to Oregon, when I lived in Puerto Rico, I wanted to have a pickup truck. That was my dream car. Now I live in Portland and I'm afraid to cross the street if I see a pickup truck nearby, because the first thought in my mind is, I don't know who's in that car, they might want to run me over. I also want to mention that being Black and Latinx is not mutually exclusive. You can be Black and Puerto Rican, you can be Black and Salvadorian, you can be Black and Honduran, and not because one of your parents is African American. You know, you could have generations of families that are just, you know, slavery happened in Latin America as well. And as the daughter of a Black Puerto Rican who recently moved to Portland because I did not want my mother and my sister to be alone in Puerto Rico, what they're going through a crisis right now. I convinced them to come here with me because I felt like they could receive more opportunities here the same way I moved, looking for more opportunities. I can't help but fear that my mother has this ginormous target on her back as she walks the streets of Portland. Because not only is she Black, but she speaks Spanish. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to be here today. Because with everything that's been going on in the news, I have been so drained and just emotionally exhausted that I decided to just take a break for 2 weeks. But when I was offered to come here and speak, I decided not to pass it because I realized that this is important, not just for me, not just for my mother and my sister who is now going to school here, but for my friends and for people that I don't even know. Hear these things in the news, people dying every day. I never thought, you never realize the gravity and severity of it until it reaches your backyard right next door. When somebody is brutalized and murdered in Gresham. These are things that I came to the United States looking for better opportunities, hoping I would feel somewhat safer and more stable. And if it wasn't for the support that I have with the community here, the organizing community, I wouldn't even know where to go. I'd probably just leave the United States altogether, maybe go live with my grandmother in Ecuador, because I'm also Ecuadorian. You know, because I feel like I have nowhere else to go. This is something that we cannot escape. We live with this every day. And it is exhausting. And we cannot continue to turn a blind eye to it.
So we're going to just conclude what we came here to tell you, and we're hoping that public comment will dominate the documents and the discussion that we laid out. I hope that people share their experiences with you guys. I know that as seasoned commissioners, you guys are not new to any of this information, but what you do have to realize is that we are afraid. We're scared to death. We have children that are afraid. They already know that people in this world hate them. And there ain't no way you can tell them that just the color of their skin is enough for somebody to hate them.